All right, so imagine this. You're on the porch of your brand new Washington home.
Sipping coffee.
Yeah, keys in hand, and you're breathing in that fresh Pacific Northwest air.
Sounds nice.
It does. It sounds dreamy. But getting to that point, especially for first-time homebuyers,
Oh, yeah.
can be so daunting.
It's true. There's so many things to figure out, especially with how much Washington's housing market changes.
That's why we're doing this deep dive. You gave us so many resources about buying a home in Washington, and we're focusing on first-timers, just like you. We're going to break it all down for you.
Yeah, especially with tips for Bellingham and Whatcom County.
Exactly. And the bigger Washington picture. So you can make that dream a reality.
Absolutely. We're going to cut through all the confusing stuff and get right to the heart of what you need to know.
So before we even get into loans and programs, let's just talk about Washington's housing scene.
Okay, so one thing that really stands out from what we've seen is just how competitive the market is. In September 2024, the median home price in Washington, it hit $635,500. That's a 5.6% jump from last year.
Wow, 5.6. No wonder people are feeling overwhelmed.
That's a lot. But you know what? Facing these challenges head on, that's a good thing. It means you can strategize and really explore every option you have.
So what's the first thing anyone should do if they're even thinking about buying a home in Washington?
Learn about buying a home.
Like home buyer education.
Exactly. And luckily, Washington has a fantastic resource for this. The Washington State Housing Finance Commission, we'll call it WSHFC for short. And they offer these free homebuyer education seminars.
Free? Wow, what do they cover in those?
All kinds of topics, from like the very basics of buying a house, like making an offer, to the different types of mortgages you can get, budgeting, that's really important, and even tips for maintaining your home.
So it's not just about finding the house, it's about knowing what to do when you get the keys.
Exactly. And here's another cool thing. When you finish these seminars, sometimes it counts as meeting the requirements for some loan programs, the affordable housing loan programs. You learn a ton, and you get access to these special programs.
Whiz.
Talk about a win-win.
I know. Great tip right off the bat.
Yeah.
All right, so you've aced your seminar, you're feeling good. What's next?
This one might not be as fun,
Oh.
but it's super important. Get your finances in order.
What does it even mean, getting your finances in order for a first-time buyer?
It all starts with knowing what you can afford. And this is about more than just what a lender might approve you for.
Yeah.
It's about what do you feel comfortable paying every month? You know, it's about finding that spot where your housing costs fit nicely into your overall budget.
Yeah, I remember when I was buying my first home, I was focused on how much I could borrow. But you really have to think long-term.
Yeah.
Can I actually afford these payments without being stressed about it?
Exactly. And one of the most important things here is your debt-to-income ratio, or DTI for short. Think of your DTI like a backpack. The more debt you have, the heavier that backpack gets.
Oh, wait.
And it makes it much harder to climb that mountain of homeownership. Lenders use your DTI to see how much house you can handle.
So you want a lighter backpack.
Yeah, a lower DTI. That usually means more wiggle room in your budget for those mortgage payments.
Got it. What other money stuff is super important for first-time buyers?
Credit score, that's a big one. It's like your financial report card. It shows how good you are with money, and a higher credit score can get you a lower interest rate. That can save you so much money.
I bet there are things you can do to check your credit and make it better.
Oh, yeah. One resource is annualcreditreport.com. It's free. You can get a credit report from each of the 3 major credit bureaus. Checking it often can help you catch mistakes.
Ooh, I like that.
And maybe even boost that score a bit.
Yeah, those mistakes, got to catch them. They can make a big difference.
They really can. Now, when you've got your finances together, it's time to look at pre-qualification and pre-approval for a loan.
Okay, what's the difference?
Pre-qualification, that's like a quick check.
Okay.
It's like dipping your toe in the mortgage pool. You give the lender some basic money info, and they tell you a rough estimate of what you could borrow.
So not a guarantee.
Yeah, like a starting point.
Got it.
Now, pre-approval, that's the real deal. That's like jumping all the way into the mortgage pool. You'll formally apply, and they'll check everything. Your income, your credit history, the whole 9 yards.
So pre-approval, that means more.
Oh, yeah. It shows sellers that you're serious and you've got a lender ready to go.
Like you're not messing around.
They're much more likely to take your offer seriously when you have that pre-approval letter.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I know there are programs in Washington made just for first-time buyers.
Yeah.
This WSHFC keeps coming up. What's their deal?
WSHFC is awesome. They have 2 main programs, Home Advantage and House Key Opportunity.
Okay, let's start with Home Advantage. What makes it so good?
Home Advantage is all about affordability. They offer these reduced interest rates, which can really change your monthly payments, especially when you're trying to make ends meet.
That sounds amazing. Are there, like, requirements for Home Advantage?
Oh, yeah. There's an income cap. One source said it's $180,000 per year, and you still got to meet the lender's requirements for credit score and DTI.
So Home Advantage, it seems like it's for a lot of different people, first-time buyers. What about House Key Opportunity? What's that all about?
So House Key Opportunity is specifically for people with lower incomes. And the limits on how much money you can make, it changes depending on where you live and how many people are in your family, so it's worth checking if you qualify.
Okay, that's great that they have programs tailored for specific needs like that.
Yeah.
It's not one size fits all.
Nope, not at all. And with these programs, there are tons of different down payment assistance options. And speaking of down payments...
That's always a big hurdle for first-time buyers,
Yeah.
right? Saving up for that down payment, it's
Yeah.
a struggle, especially now with home prices going up.
Oh, I know. It's tough. But check this out. This might give you some hope. The average WSHFC homebuyer gets $10,000 in down payment assistance.
Wait, 10,000? Really? That could change everything.
Oh, it can. It really shows how these programs help close that gap between dreaming of a house and actually buying one.
So let's talk about those down payment assistance programs. What do they have through WSHFC?
There are a bunch. There's Home Advantage DPA, which can give you up to 4% of your mortgage amount.
That's a lot of money.
It is. And then there's the needs-based DPA, up to $10,000 for those lower income buyers.
So there's help for people who need a little extra boost to get started.
Yeah. And then there's the Opportunity DPA. That one goes up to $15,000.
I got to ask, are these DPA programs grants? Meaning you don't have to pay them back?
That's a great question. And here's the thing. All those DPA programs through WSHC, they're actually loans, not grants.
Oh, so you do have to pay them back.
You do. But the good news is the terms are usually pretty good. Sometimes you don't start paying back until you sell the house, refinance, or pay off the mortgage.
Oh, so you don't get hit with a giant bill right away.
Exactly. It just helps you get over that down payment hump at the beginning.
Okay, that makes sense. Any other DPA programs we should know about?
Yeah. There's a Veterans DPA, which gives up to $10,000 for veterans. And then there's a Disability DPA with up to $15,000 for people with disabilities.
That's great that they have specific support like that.
Yeah.
Now, I know we have lots of listeners in Bellingham and Whatcom County. Do these programs work differently up there?
That's where it gets a little tricky. The resources we have, they don't really have specific details about Bellingham and Whatcom County.
What should people in those areas do if they want to learn more?
I would say reach out to local housing organizations in the area.
Okay.
Or talk to a real estate agent, someone who knows Bellingham and Whatcom County. They'll be able to give you the most up-to-date info.
So do your research. Find those local experts.
Exactly. It's all about asking the right questions.
Okay. So we've been talking about WSHFC, but I'm guessing there are other options for first-time buyers too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. WSHFC is just one piece of the puzzle. There are some national programs that might work for you, depending on your situation.
Let's talk about those other options then.
Okay, so one common option is a conventional loan. These loans are from private lenders, and they usually have pretty flexible options for down payments. Sometimes you can put down as little as 3%, but you might have to pay for mortgage insurance.
Conventional loans, they give you some choices.
Yeah.
What about FHA loans?
FHA loans, those are insured by the Federal Housing Administration, and they're known for being easier to get for people who might not have the best credit.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, you might even qualify with a credit score as low as 580.
That's a relief for anyone who's worried about their credit.
Definitely. And then you've got VA loans, which are just for veterans and active duty military.
VA loans have such a good reputation.
And for good reason. They have amazing benefits, like sometimes no down payment at all and no mortgage insurance.
It's a great program.
It is. If you're eligible, it's worth looking into.
What about for people who want to buy in a more rural part of Washington? Are there programs for them?
You bet. USDA loans, those are backed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and they're a great option for people buying in certain rural and suburban areas. And guess what?
What?
They also have zero down payment options.
Zero down payment. That sounds too good to be true. Is there a catch?
There are income limits for USDA loans, so make sure you qualify.
Okay, that makes sense. We've covered so much already.
I know.
We talked about the Washington housing market, all these loan programs, down payment assistance, credit scores, DTIs. My brain is full.
We've just scratched the surface. But hey, that's what part 2 is for.
Exactly. We've built a good foundation. So join us for part 2, where we'll dive into those local things, especially for all of you in Bellingham and Whatcom County. We'll talk about the market, finding the right real estate agent, and maybe even uncover some hidden gems. We'll see you there. Welcome back to our deep dive. In part 1, we tackled all that financial stuff, those programs, and even how to handle a competitive market like Bellingham.
Oh, yeah, we covered a lot.
We did. From homebuyer education to DTI and credit scores, we set the stage for making good decisions.
Absolutely.
Now let's zoom in on Bellingham and Whatcom County. What does all this mean for you guys up there?
One thing that really stood out to me, when we were getting ready for this deep dive, is how much the programs and assistance change across Washington.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about Seattle, Spokane, and Tacoma last time, right?
Yep.
And their city-specific programs, like a whole secret world of support.
It is. It shows how local stuff can really make a difference for first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
We've got the national programs, then the state stuff, and then these hyper-local programs all working together.
Like a safety net with layers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. But for someone in Bellingham or Whatcom County, where do they even begin?
Honestly, one of the best things you can have is a real estate agent who knows their stuff.
Yeah.
Someone who really understands what's going on locally.
A good agent can make all the difference.
Yeah.
They're dealing with this market every day.
Every single day.
Including those special Bellingham and Whatcom County programs.
Oh, yeah. They can help you with the market, connect you with the right lenders who know about first-time buyer programs, and even give you insights into the different neighborhoods.
Like your own personal guide.
Exactly, leading you through the ins and outs of buying a home in Bellingham.
It's like a Sherpa, but for houses. But even with all that help, Washington's housing market, especially in places like Bellingham, it can be so competitive. What advice would you give to someone who's feeling intimidated by that?
I totally get it. It can be scary. One of the sources we have really stresses being prepared and being proactive. Those two things can really change the game.
So what does that look like? How can someone in Bellingham be prepared and proactive?
Okay, first things first. Make sure you're pre-approved for a mortgage. It shows sellers you're ready to go.
Like you're serious.
Yeah, they're going to take you more seriously if you've got everything lined up. It builds trust.
You're not just browsing.
Exactly. Another thing is, work with your agent and come up with a really strong offer. In a market like Bellingham's, you might have to be flexible with some of the terms, or even think about offering more than the asking price.
So it's not always about finding the lowest price.
Right.
It's about being smart and knowing when to make a move.
Exactly. And don't underestimate knowing your stuff. Knowledge is power.
What does it mean to be a well-informed buyer, especially in Bellingham?
It's about understanding the trends in the local market. What kind of properties are people looking for? What are prices doing? You got to do your research on neighborhoods that fit your needs and budget.
And your budget.
Yes. And don't forget about things like property taxes and homeowners insurance. Those costs can vary a lot.
So it's more than just finding a house you like.
Yeah.
It's about knowing the financial reality of owning in that specific spot.
Absolutely. And this is where those home buyer education seminars come in handy. They give you that base knowledge to make good decisions.
Arming you with the tools you need to feel good. Speaking of feeling good, let's talk mindset for a second. Buying a home, especially your first one, it can be emotional.
Oh, yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who's feeling overwhelmed or discouraged by the process?
Oh, I remember those feelings. It's a huge life event, so it's totally normal to feel excited, anxious, even a little scared. The important thing is to remember your why.
Your why.
Yeah, like why is owning a home in Bellingham or in Washington so important to you? What's driving this dream? Is it putting down roots, having a space that's really yours, or maybe the financial benefits of owning a home?
It's about that deeper motivation.
Exactly. When things get tough, you remember your why. And remember, it's okay to ask for help. Talk to your agent, your lender, friends, family, anyone who's been through this. Having a support system is huge.
It takes a village, right? So as we wrap up part 2, anything else that stands out to you as important for first-time buyers in Bellingham, Whatcom County, or Washington?
I think the biggest thing is to be patient and persistent. Finding the right house, especially in a competitive market, it takes time. You're not always going to fall in love with the first house you see.
Yeah.
And you're going to need some resilience. Don't get discouraged if you hit some bumps in the road or if your offer gets rejected. Just keep looking, stay informed, and trust that the right house will come along.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
That's it. Don't give up on that dream.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been on this journey, learning about buying your first home in Washington, parts 1 and 2. We covered the money stuff, all those important programs, and even how to handle a tough market like Bellingham. Now for this last part, I think it's time to step away from the numbers
Yeah.
and get a little more, I don't know, personal.
It's time to talk about finding a house that really feels like home, not just a place that checks off boxes on a list.
Exactly. We're moving past spreadsheets and interest rates and getting to the heart of what home really means. Because this is about more than just buying something.
Right.
It's about finding that place where you build memories, put down roots.
One thing that I think gets missed sometimes is really understanding all the different kinds of properties that are out there.
Oh, yeah.
Are you thinking about a cozy condo in Bellingham? Or a big house with a yard for barbecues? Or maybe a townhouse?
Yeah, they all have their pros and cons, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like condos, those can be great for people who don't want to do a lot of maintenance.
Mhm.
But then you have those HOA fees.
Exactly. Those fees cover the shared stuff and maintenance, but it's still money out of your pocket.
True. And then a house, it gives you more privacy. You can do what you want.
Yeah.
But you got to take care of everything yourself.
Mowing the lawn, fixing leaky faucets, the whole deal.
Yeah. And townhouses, they're like that middle ground.
Yeah, sometimes.
You get some shared amenities. You don't have to do as much yard work,
Mm-hmm.
but you still have your own space.
It's all about what fits your life and what's important to you. And think about the future, too, Will your family grow? Do you work from home and need an office? Thinking ahead can save you from having to move sooner than you want.
I wish I knew that when I bought my first place.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get excited and forget about the long term.
Oh, it happens. Now, once you have a good idea of the type of place you want,
Yeah.
the big question is location, location, location.
All about location.
It's not just the house, it's the neighborhood, the feeling, the people around you. And in Bellingham and Whatcom County, so many great neighborhoods.
There are.
Do you want to be downtown with all the shops and restaurants? Or do you want something quieter, closer to parks, schools, good public transportation?
Yeah, it's about finding a neighborhood that matches your lifestyle
Exactly, your values too.
and your goals.
Mm-hmm. And this is where research is key. Don't just drive through a neighborhood. Take your time, really get to know it.
Besides actually walking around the neighborhood, what kind of research should people do?
Go online. Neighborhood forums, websites, even social media groups. See what people are saying. Go to events, visit the shops and restaurants, talk to people, get a feel for the place.
Immerse yourself in the community.
Yes. When I was house hunting, I got so tripped up by all the terminology. It felt like a whole new language.
The real estate world does have its own lingo.
It does, but once you get it, it makes things so much easier.
What's the difference between an appraisal and an inspection? I can never keep them straight.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people get those mixed up. So an appraisal, it's basically an expert saying how much the property is worth. Lenders want appraisals to make sure it's worth the money you're borrowing. It's their way of being safe.
So the appraisal protects the lender. What about an inspection?
An inspection protects you, the buyer. They look at everything, the whole house,
Wow.
to see if there are any problems, like with the structure, the plumbing, even pests.
That's really important. Could save you from a lot of trouble later.
Oh, absolutely. And usually the buyer pays for the inspection.
Oh, good to know. Any other real estate terms we should be familiar with?
You'll hear earnest money a lot.
Oh, earnest money, yeah. I remember being so confused about that. It felt like some secret code.
It's not that complicated. Earnest money is basically a deposit you make when you make an offer on a house. It shows the seller you're serious.
I'm committed.
Exactly. And if the sale happens, that money usually goes towards your down payment or closing costs. And if the deal falls apart for certain reasons, you might get it back.
Okay, so there's some protection there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about negotiating, especially in a place like Bellingham, where it's so competitive. It can feel like a lot of pressure, especially if it's your first time buying.
Negotiation is super important, especially in a market where there are a lot of offers. You need to know how to play the game.
What are your tips for negotiating well, especially when the market is hot?
The best thing, be pre-approved for a mortgage. That tells sellers you're ready to buy. It gives you a big advantage.
You're ready to go.
Yeah, and be ready to compromise. You might not bet everything you want, especially in a competitive market. Figure out what's most important and be flexible on other things.
So pick your battles.
For example, maybe you're flexible on the closing date, or you offer to pay some of the seller's closing costs. Find creative ways to make your offer look good without breaking the bank.
It's like a dance, finding that balance.
It is. You want what you want, but you want the deal to work for everyone. It's a two-way street. Talk to the seller. Find something that works for both of you.
It's a win-win.
Exactly. Now, the offer is accepted. Everyone's happy. What happens next?
That's when the real work starts, right?
It is. It's time to lock down that mortgage, schedule the appraisal and inspection, and work with the title company to make sure everything's legal and ready for you to take ownership. It's the home stretch, but it can still be a little crazy.
Yeah.
It can. But as long as you stay organized, talk to everyone involved, and ask questions if you're not sure about something, you'll be fine.
Having a good team helps a lot. Your agent, lender, title company, they're all there to guide you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Trust their experience. They've done this a million times.
Let's talk about that big day, closing day. What should first-time buyers expect when they finally sit down at that table?
Closing day, that's when you officially become a homeowner. You've worked hard, you've been patient, and now it's all coming together. You'll sign a ton of papers, finalize the money stuff, and get the keys to your new home.
That's the dream.
It is. It can be a little overwhelming, though.
Yeah.
But don't worry. Everyone there is making sure everything goes smoothly. If you've done your homework, asked questions, and looked over all the paperwork, you can relax and enjoy the moment.
It's a celebration.
It is. Time to pop some champagne and celebrate becoming a homeowner.
And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive into first-time home buying in Washington. We talked about money, finding the perfect place, and all the ups and downs of real estate.
Yeah, we covered a lot.
We gave everyone a ton of information, and hopefully now you feel more confident about starting your home buying journey.
I hope so. The main thing I want people to take away is this. Buying a home is a journey. It's not just the end goal. There's learning, making decisions, even some challenges along the way.
You'll hit some bumps in the road.
But if you prepare, have the right mindset, and a good support system, you can make it happen.
And there are resources and people to help you along the way.
That's right. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with one last thought. We talked a lot about the practical stuff.
Yeah. But don't forget to trust your gut. When you walk into a house, does it feel right? Does it make you happy? Does it feel like a place where you can truly make a home?
That's so important.
It is. It's about finding that balance between the facts and your feelings. You know, the practical stuff and what your heart tells you.
Because buying a home isn't just about checking things off a list. It's about finding a place that really connects with you.
Said. And on that note, we'll say goodbye to our listeners and wish them all the best on their home buying journeys. Happy house hunting.
Until next time, keep diving deep.